Big View. My name is Alice Morin, and I direct Circles of Support programming at Kutaska Community Action. Okay, so many of you are familiar with Kutaska programming. They run lots of programs like Head Start, energy assistance, weatherization, crisis housing type programs. And then Circles of Support is also programming there, but it's a little bit different. In Circles of Support, we're helping people build hope. So it's not as tangible as some of that other stuff. It's for people who struggle with poverty-related issues, and it's for people who care about that issue and want to befriend them and build relationships with people to help them improve their lives in any way that they can, as well as help improve our community. So we provide group support and skills building training in several different ways that we do that. And then we also have some tangible resources. We help people get computers, bikes, and sometimes cars. So our programming has been fostering the study of relationships across class, socioeconomic class, and race lines for more than 10 years. So Circles of Support essentially is social asset programming. So we're supporting, we're encouraging, and we're studying those relationships. And then, of course, we do Big View work, which is what we're about tonight. And Big View work focuses on class, again, socioeconomic class, those types of issues, race, as well as social justice issues for people that are oppressed. Our topics are for community education. They are for empowering people who are financially or racially oppressed. We're intentional about keeping these topics on our community's agenda. Our topics are not always comfortable, but they're necessary. We see a need to discuss what's not being discussed. So you may have noticed the camera in the corner there. The majority of our Big View programming is recorded. So members of Circles of Support do that taping for us. The camera belongs to ICTV. After the meeting, that all goes back to them. They put the programming together, and it will air on their stations. You can look up their schedule on their website. If you're interested in having a copy of tonight's program on DVD, you can contact ICTV directly and get a copy of this. It's just some reassurance. We're not going to be zooming out to every audience member that asks a question. We're not going to turn and zoom on you, okay? Our goal is to pick up the audio, but keep the video part on the front of the room. So some people really like that, and we hope that encourages people to ask questions or feel more comfortable asking questions. So yeah, our goal is to pick up the audio. So tonight we're here to talk about real-life experiences of racism in our community. Our speaker tonight, Samson Longton, is an area resident. He went to school here. His willingness and his courage to speak to us tonight about this issue is really a gift. It really is. It's not an easy topic, and it's not something that I hear us talking about a lot here. Okay, there are some ground rules to tonight's meeting. Of course, it's okay to disagree. We welcome rich discussion as long as you're practicing respect. So this is Samson's real first public talk, and we're going to support him in getting out what he feels he needs to say. We're intentional about respectful conversation. That being said, please understand that feeling comfortable is something different, okay? If you're not familiar with the concept of white feelings, I encourage you to explore that, okay? There are some handouts you may have picked up on the way in that will be relevant to what we're talking about tonight. They're good educational materials. And I'm going to read you something from one of those handouts, okay? It says, well-meaning white people sometimes urge people of color to talk about race rationally or without emotion during discussions on race and racism. Okay, but the history of racial supremacy against people of color in the US is not rational. It's brutal. So The handout goes on to say that those who have been impacted by individual and institutional forms of racial oppression have every right to express their disappointment and even their anger about what that's like. And you can decide on your own, what you think about that. But the assumption that people who are emotional when discussing race and racism is a way of insinuating that they lack critical awareness. It's a way of dismissing someone's lived reality. So emotion comes out in more than one way. We often equate that to tears. Sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes it, where we might be a little ticked, comes out that way too. Okay, and I'm not explaining any of this to get anybody worried about anything. Okay, and I'm explaining this for reassurance to Samson. Okay. So keep in mind that the experiences of people in color in this country are not valid only when the rest of us feel comfortable hearing them. That's about the white feelings thing. Okay, I've heard Samson speak, talked to him myself. I have viewed his passion on this topic online. And I'll just say, Samson is a nice person. He is very well spoken. He is respectful. And he is protective towards other people's feelings. Okay? Yet I think some of his best stuff comes out when he fires back a little bit. There's pain there, and a reality that many of us know nothing about. So I encourage you, Samson, to tell us what we need to hear. And with that, I will turn it over to you. I ask that we let Samson get through his story, and we'll have questions at the end, and there should be a good amount of time for that. Okay, welcome, Samson.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank each and every one of you for showing up today. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with me and your community. So I think on that note, everybody should give themselves a hand right now. The point of this discussion is not to change overnight. I don't expect that. The point of this discussion is to start change by helping each other understand and respect our differences while we bond through similarities, which are numerous. We are first and foremost human. Now, before I start, I figure I should let you guys know a little bit about me. So I'll give you a little short biography about me. I was born premature, 3 months premature, was not supposed to live. Born in Hibbing, Minnesota, but I never lived there. I was rushed to Minneapolis because then they didn't have the technology for premature babies. So that's where I spent the first part of my life. And then we moved around state to state. I probably lived in about 10 states by the time I was 11, 12. So then we came here. But first, I guess I should say, before we lived here, we lived in Dallas, Texas. And my schooling there, how I did in school, I was in a program called Talented and Gifted. They wanted to bump me up a grade, so I must have been doing something right. So, and it's just, as soon as we came here, my grades dropped. Didn't want to be in too many sports. I became antisocial. I guess to give you an example, I was talking to my grandma the other day, and she was telling me a story about when she and my grandpa were in Alabama. And my grandpa and grandma were white. And they seen a black man walking towards them. And she just marveled at the fact of how he went to the other side of the street just to avoid walking on the same side as a white man, or a white man. And when she told me that, I mean, it really brought me back to when I first came here. Like, I used to walk down the street, and to avoid interaction, I would go to the other side of the street. Because I didn't know I mean, I'm a friendly person. I have, you know, I came here from the South, so I have manners. And I was brought up, you know, I was brought up to, I mean, the South really impacted, even though I was young, it impacted who I am today, and I can't deny that. And I was raised to open doors and pull out seeds and all that. So when I first moved here, that's the interaction that I know. So when I'm opening these doors and when I'm saying hello, how you doing, how's your day, and people are just looking at me crazy, or to tell you the truth, I'd rather have them look at me crazy. The worst is when they act like they didn't even hear you. And they just look away. You go, hey, how you doing? And they look away like you don't even exist, like your voice was not even heard. So this affected who I am today. This affected my interaction with people. In a way, it clipped my wings. And I'm not here to say it so people can feel sorry for me, because don't feel sorry for me at all. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. It made me who I am, and it gave me strengths. And I just got to work a little bit harder at everything else. I don't mind that. Because, you know, when you work hard for something, it means a little bit more to you when you get it. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea of the culture shock. Like I said, it ended up affecting my grades. I wasn't talking to people in school because of how I was treated. And then, you know, at school, when I would go to the principals or the teachers, they would act like I was the problem. Like I should be more silent, I should be more invisible, or I should just focus on my schoolwork instead of focusing on the people that were messing with me. They were investigating me and my duties. And I mean, as a kid, when you go to a bigger person and ask them for help and they tell you to be the bigger person, it's just not productive. Especially when teachers and principals are there for a reason to protect the learning environment. So, I mean, in a sense, that just hits on the nail of being, feeling like an outcast. And when you go to people in positions of power, whether it be police, whether it be people in school, whether it be just anybody, an adult period, and they're telling you that, I mean, you really start to get this mentality of F the system and F everybody. Because what are they? I talk and they don't listen to me. So, I mean, it's detrimental to how you view society, because everybody's not like that. So anyway, I ended up getting in trouble. I didn't want to be around nobody. My mom, bless her heart, but she's white. But, I mean, she really couldn't understand. She wanted to understand so bad. And I seen that. And there was other people that my whole family wanted to understand. I come from a beautiful, loving family. And they all wanted to understand so bad. And instead of me giving them kudos for even attempting to understand, I would in turn become more introverted. It's like, you can't understand. You're not black. You can't understand. But the fact that somebody's even trying to understand it and extend that hand, then you need to extend that communication and talk with them and help them understand, because nobody's ever going to understand if you won't tell them. But I felt like, just, Mom, you don't understand me. Screw you, I'm getting out of here. I left home. And my viewpoint on what a man was just get it how you gotta get it. So when I left home, that was my philosophy. I'm on my own now, I'm 17. Get it how you gotta get it. Just don't hurt anybody. So I made bad mistakes. Selling drugs, doing burglaries. And I really didn't care. Like, nobody's listening to me, so what does it matter? This is what they expect me to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how they look at me, which is no excuse. I'm just telling you what led me to that. It's no excuse. Everybody has a choice. I'm just telling you my story. It's no excuse at all. So I left home, did the wrong things to make it on my own, and became a felon, which affects me for the rest of my life. I remember once going to court for stealing a candy bar. And I believe it was Judge Spooner. Was it Judge Spooner? The old guy? It was a while ago, I don't know. But he was like, What kind of candy bar was it, son? I just said king size, that's all. It made it worth it. I don't know why that sticks in my head. I guess probably because he wasn't just by the book. He actually engaged in conversation and made a joke. Let's see here. Bear with me. So now I get out of prison. I'm a felon. It affects my job possibilities. I'm looked at as a file, not a person. Once you go to prison, it doesn't matter how smart you are. And you could be the best speaker in the world. You could be nice. It really doesn't matter. When somebody opens that file, that's all they care about. When you go to a job, that's all they care about. When you go to get a residence and find that out, that's all they care about. You can engage in conversation. They can fall in love with you right there on the spot. As soon as they open that file, it's over with. Another huge thing from coming here, the culture shock, it gave me social anxiety, it gave me depression, I was on meds. I mean, eventually I ended up figuring that stuff out through talking like this and getting to the base of the problem rather than just feeding these meds. Getting to the base of the problem, finding out what caused it, accepting it, and then changing. I don't need that stuff anymore. So I came back 4 years ago, went to college at ICC, worked at the same place for almost 3 years, and started a business with my brother. We sell purses, jewelry, things of that nature. I mean, so I got to drive. Regardless of my record, I have to drive. And for some reason, I mean, nothing's panning out. And it all comes down to this subject. I want to read a story just to give you guys an example of how everybody can have different viewpoints. A second grade school teacher posed a simple enough problem for the class. She said, there are 4 blackbirds sitting in a tree. Now you take a slingshot and shoot one of them. How many are left? 3, answered the first 7-year-old boy with certainty. 1 subtracted from 4 leaves 3. 0, answered the second boy. If you shoot 1 bird, the rest of them are going to fly away. And I just feel like it's a perfect segue or example into how we all view diversity. Because everybody has a different view, everybody has a different path, everybody has a different story, a different experience. And so we just got to focus on somebody sitting right next to us. We might see the same exact thing, but we're going to have different stories. It doesn't mean one's wrong and one's right. Both the kids are right. It's just 2 different stories. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to get to what led me here today. Number 1 thing was I left my job after being there for 2.5 years. The final thing that made me lose my job was a manager telling me I'm not a real person. Now, I can take this anyway. I can take this because the job is bullcrap, or I can take it as he knows I'm a felon, or I can take it as because I'm black. But what? I mean, rather than just go through all that, I just left. I didn't even want to ask them, what did you mean by that? Either way, it's disrespect. So I left the job after 2.5 years of getting manager dangled in front of my face, doing what I was supposed to do, being respectful, and seeing people come in and be there after 1 month and getting shipped off to Chicago to go for training. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I had a lot of time on my hands. So my new job was Facebook. So I'm on Facebook, and I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm trying to stay relevant. I'm sharing all this stuff. Police brutality, disparity in numbers, just anything that makes my heart hurt, which can be detrimental. So, and then I start getting flack from other people. Hey, you know, why you just putting this on there? Why you just putting that on there? What's up, buddy? And I ended up getting in arguments with everybody. And it just took all my energy just over Facebook, giving away my peace and my serenity to argue with somebody over on a computer. So I just said, you know, screw this. I'm just going to move. I'm sick of it. I don't like snow anyway. So I decided I was gonna move to Las Vegas. And then about a month later, I'm walking down the street with my 8-year-old son, and I talked with this person. I'm not gonna name no names. I talked with this person. We actually had a conversation. He said, no, I didn't say that. I still feel like he did. But the fact that he said, no, I didn't say that, to me says he has a conscience. Because otherwise, yeah, I said it, and what? So he has a conscience, he doesn't want to admit to saying it. Well, let's get to what he said. First of all, what I thought he said, I was walking down the street with my son, and he called us effing nigger. So, and that's not the first time. This has happened to me with, I'm just skipping my childhood, really. That was all through people throwing stuff at me, telling me to go home. I'm like, I'm home, I'm supposed to go. So, I mean,